Pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back once again to HJN Season 5. So with this in mind, we have ourselves more things worth discussing. In this series in particular, we have 2704, and the subject that I have are scents. And well, I'm not exactly talking about scents as in S-E-N-S-E, it's S-C-E-N-T-S. What exactly are scents? And well, scents are a unique series of different smells that people are tantalized by. Anything that can stimulate the olfactories, basically little parts that run along your nasal passages, and allow for people to precisely detect a scent. And it could range from anything pleasant to anything nasty, as anything pretty much would be. Anything that could look good or bad, taste good or bad, sound good or bad, feel good or bad, could also smell good or bad. But it basically is a different amalgamation of things put together. As opposed to the other four senses that people are known to have, the sense known as smell goes something like this. Through the usage of a person's nose, and of course the olfactory receptors, deep within the nasal passageway that allow people to detect scents and for your brain to determine what exactly it is. You could pick up anything, whether it be in the kitchen, outside, or wherever else. For example, in the kitchen, I am well known to smell certain things. There's fruits, there's vegetables, there's the occasional not so good bottle of milk, and of course the spice cabinet with spices like ground mustard, ginger, and turmeric. Outside, of course, where there's a lot of greens, trees, bushes, grass, plants, etc., that's mostly what I will smell. And while plants themselves will have their own unique scents regardless of which species it is, the tiger lily, the lavender, the sage, the dandelion, the sunflower, or even the daffodils, alongside many other different plant species and whatnot, they of course will have their own unique scents that anybody could recognize, whether they're popular or more obscure than some other plant species. Animals, on the other hand though, including ourselves, we are indeed animals, let's not lie about that stuff. We also have our own unique scents. Much like plants though and other things, everybody's an individual person. And often this can correlate to how one's lifestyle, diet, exercise regimen, work life, etc., how they all boil down to is how one's scent is derived from. The kind of scent that can boil down known as body odor, which often goes from a person that has not gone through a wash for some time. And I could tell you what, it's bad enough people might not wash themselves, but I will say probably even worse would be when they don't even bother brushing their teeth. Like, holy crap. I know some people that have slacked off on that whole thing. 3 times a day. 4.5 minutes of my entire life, every single day, that I spend on keeping my mouth clean. I don't know what is so complicated about that. 4.5 minutes? That is so minuscule compared to the amount of time anyone else would have in their daily lives. But I feel like that's going to stir up a lot of boiling water in the pot, so let's just move on with it. Scents, of course, don't just rely on the parts of animals, plants, etc., but as I mentioned before with the kitchen, where certain things can be detected through my own olfactory sensors, I'm also able to determine the unique scent of whatever is cooking. Of course, this can also be a variable factor, and itself is subjective to many different things, but regardless of what people would think of it, scents also are a big crucial role into determining how someone's life is made by diet. We know that many people might be tantalized by the unique scent of cinnamon and icing on cinnamon rolls or cinnamon buns or cinnamon bread, anything of the sorts. But we know that those are typically not as healthy as some other things in life. And it's kind of a shame too, because we know in some instances you can actually make healthy food and you can make it taste good just as well. My breakfast paella dish with egg fried rice, poached eggs, maple bacon, and a lot of sriracha and soy sauce. Woo! I tell you what, I crank up the spice factor with a lot of herbs and a lot of savory and sweet bits in that dish alone. I probably put it up to a whole tablespoon worth of most of these different spices and stuff, often because I make pretty big batches of them at a time. Either way, these are only a few mere examples of what most people might find tantalizing, whereas some other things in life, like the more organic fruits and vegetables and stuff, might not be so good. At least how some people might sense it, regardless of what their noses are and how their olfactory sensors pick them up. But we know that smell is only a fraction of what goes into a person's idea into thinking that fruits and vegetables aren't good for them when they really are. It almost makes you wonder, should the good stuff actually taste and smell good at the same time? Unlike the junk, which actually does smell or taste good? Well, I feel like that alone is going to be chock full of questions. So, probably not worth getting into that all too much. But I will at least say that scents, especially in the form of scented candles, for instance, there's a big variety of them to choose from. Often they might go a little above and beyond, creative, beyond one's imagination, but most of the time they will stick around to the more typical scents like you might find in nature, like lilac or lavender or sage or vanilla if you really wanted to get more tasty. But you can't eat candle wax, even if it's labeled non-toxic. Anyways though, that's probably enough for me talking about scents. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side.